Hello and welcome to Baking with John on the Food Network with your host, me, John Pacente. So today I'm going to bake everyone's favorite banana bread. So without further ado, let me show you the ingredients. So for this recipe, you're going to need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, an 1/8 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 2 beaten eggs, which I'll show you how to beat them in a few minutes, 1.5 cups of mashed bananas, which I will also show you how to do in a few minutes, 1 cup of sugar, a half a cup of cooking oil, and you could also use a 1/4 cup of chopped walnuts, but I decided not to do that for this recipe. The last thing that you'll need to create this is a 9x5 by 3-inch pan. This will be best for the recipe because it's perfect, measurements are great, and it's easy. This recipe only makes 1 loaf, but if you want to, you can double the recipe to create 2. So now let's get to baking. The first thing you should do before you bake is wash your hands. So the first step of this recipe is to grease your pan that you will use with any kind of cooking spray. I decided to use Pam because, it's awesome. Get it all in there. Great. And you're going to make sure that all the sides are greased so that it'll be easy to take out your bread when it's done cooking. The next thing you will need to do is preheat the oven to 350 degrees, which I did over there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a large bowl like this one, and we're going to combine all our dry ingredients together. So first I'm going to measure out the 2 cups of the all-purpose flour. So, like so, you're going to take the scooper and drop it into your thing. After you do that, you're gonna get a flat surface-y object, and you're gonna level the flour so it looks perfect like that, and then you're just gonna dump it into your bowl. Then we're gonna add it to our bowl. So next ingredient is baking powder, and you're gonna need 1.5 teaspoons. So let's measure out 1 teaspoon. And then you can use the side here to level it off. And then I'm going to measure out a 1/2 teaspoon. And then drop that into my bowl. The next ingredient is baking soda, and we're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon for this one. And you can use the edge to level it like we did the baking soda. And then you're just going to drop it in. Next, we're going to grab our ground cinnamon, and we're going to need 1/4 teaspoon for this one. So let me grab my 1/4, and then you're just going to drop it in there. Your next ingredient is going to be your ground nutmeg, and you need 1/8 teaspoon for this one. And then drop it in. Now this is a little extra, but you can also add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to this recipe to give it a little extra kick. Now, when you're all done with that, you're going to combine your ingredients by stirring them. So I just take my little thing here, stir and stir. After you do that, the recipe tells you to create a well inside of this. So what you do is you make a little hole in the center of the flour and other mixture. And that's where we're going to add our liquid ingredients for later. Next, you're going to get a medium-sized bowl, and this is where you'll combine the bananas and the eggs and your other wet ingredients. First, I unpeeled the bananas, and I put them into this, and now I'm going to take a fork and just mash it. Okay, now I'm going to add a 3rd banana, because I need a little more. So now that our bananas are all mashed up, we're going to add it to our medium-sized bowl. Oops. Just going to work. So next what we're going to do is we're going to beat our eggs. So first we're going to crack our eggs. And then I'm going to take a fork. I'm just going to go in here and whisk it until they're fully beaten. Add it to here. Next, we're going to add our half a cup of oil. So you're going to now make sure you measure it at eye level, because that's how you get your most accurate measurement. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add that to your mixture. And last but not least, we're going to add our sugar. And we need 1 cup of it, so I have my cup measurement here. I'm just going to go right in. And then you're going to add that to the mixture. And now we're just going to mix this all together. Once you're done with that, we're going to add our mixture to the well that we created in our dry ingredients. Just slowly add it. And now you're going to mix this until it's moist. Now it's okay if there's lumps in it, that means you did a great job. If you over stir it, there can be some problems in the way that it bakes and it won't turn out the right way. Then if you did want to add your nuts to this recipe, you're just going to put them in at this step and you're going to fold them into the batter. So now you're just going to add your batter to your cake tins that we set aside. So I'm going to use, now you're just going to slowly add it. Now we put our banana bread into the bread pan. We are going to put it into the oven at 350 degrees for 35 to 40 minutes. So while the bread is cooking, I'm going to give you guys a few facts about the ingredients that we used and why we used them so it makes some sense. So the flour was used because it provides structure to the bread. The baking powder and the baking soda were used because they are leavening agents and they allow for the bread to rise while it's in the oven. The ground cinnamon and the ground nutmeg add flavor to your recipe and give it a more awesome taste. The beaten eggs are a binding agent, which means it binds all of the ingredients together. Mashed bananas were used, obviously, because it's banana bread and it adds that banana flavor that I really like. The sugar was used because it browns, tenderizes, and it adds a little sweetness to the bread. The cooking oil was used because it helps the bread brown and it helps add a little flavor. And then the chopped walnuts, if you chose to use them, would also add a little flavor to your palate. Oh, it's done! Okay, so I just took my banana bread out of the oven and I poked it with a toothpick to make sure that it was fully cooked. Now I'm going to set it aside on a cooling rack and have it cool off for 10 minutes until I can finally eat it. So I took the banana bread out of the pan and I put it onto this little cutting board thing. So now I'm going to cut a few pieces of this bread and try it myself. Let's try it. Mmm, delicious. Thank you all so much for watching Cooking with John on the Food Network. Please be sure to turn in next week when I cook some macaroons. Peace out.